Welcome to Conversations with Chad. I'm your host, Chad Kiser. On this episode of Conversations with Chad, I'm sitting down with one of the leading pioneers in live streaming. Having streamed over 10,000 music festivals, concerts, and events, my guest has been at the forefront of streaming technological innovation since the inception of the industry, connecting music fans with the world's leading artists, DJs, festivals, promoters, and venues. With global offices across London, New York, Berlin, São Paulo, and Mexico City, his innovations have won nearly every streaming award possible and been the leader in global music video streaming for more than a decade. Please welcome BeApp founder Ray Smith. What's good, Ray?
I'm good, man. Thanks for taking the time. I know a lot of people are busy doing other things at the moment, and you chose to talk to little old me.
I want to kick this off by having you tell us a little bit about who you are, Ray Smith, and give us a little background information on you.
Sure. I'm originally from just outside of Philadelphia. I'm born in the streets of Philly, born and raised on the playground is where I spend most of my days. Went to school in LA. I went to USC. When I first graduated, I moved to Silicon Valley. Feels like an eternity ago to do strategy management consulting. I spent some time working there. Well, I say working, but I really didn't do anything. I mean, I was just downloading illegal music at the time and billing clients for it. But, kind of in those early days of Napster and Kazaa and LimeWire, I don't know how old you are, but, in the late 90s, early 2000s, the whole music industry was completely transformed because we had access to everything and anything. And before the LimeWires and the Napsters of the world, it's like you could only listen to stuff that was on the radio or you can get mixtapes. And so when the internet kind of opened up everything that you could listen to any song in the world for free, and you didn't have to pay for it through these file sharing services, I just really was just a big fan of exploring different genres of music and different types of sounds that I didn't get in Philadelphia radio or California radio. But while listening to all of those different sets that I would download or music that I would download, like a lot of times I would listen to live music performances. So things that were captured at concerts, things that were captured in festivals. And, there's something about a live music recording, especially if it was captured in a concert or a festival or in an exciting environment. You hear other things. So yes, you hear the music, but you also hear like people screaming and you hear some crazy stuff that happens. And I've always had this desire, especially when you hear these things, it's like, wow, I wonder what that looks like. I wonder what that feels like. I wonder what that party was like. And so, way back in the early days of the early 2000s, before live streaming was a thing, I kind of had this idea of, how can we get a differentiated music listening experience, not just listening to audio performances or audio sets or songs on the radio. How can we actually get the video component as well? So with that, I packed up my bags. I moved to London back in 2006 and started my first company, which is called BeApp TV. And it was pretty much that. It was how you could allow people to be at the world's best music festivals. So we aggregated the right loads of festivals. I mean, we were doing anywhere from 50 to 100 live streams per week. And this is at a time when everyone thought I was a lunatic. Like, who's going to watch something on a computer? This is
right.
This is just when YouTube's coming out. This is just when Facebook's coming out. And so, from that standpoint, I guess you said, tell me a little bit about yourself. I really don't have anything interesting about me. My whole life has pretty much been trying to do this, trying to figure out how you can democratize access to content, how you can make somebody feel as though they're at an event or a festival or a music experience, no matter where they are in the world. And it's pretty much been my life's work for the past, 15 years of trying to solve that problem of taking my 16-year-old self who's in West Philadelphia and putting him in like the most rock and roll club in Ibiza, or having him feel like he's in the center of a festival in Brazil, or having him feel like he's in, behind stage, backstage, getting AAA access at Rolling Loud. And that kind of leads me to where we are today.
Okay, nice. So like you mentioned, in 2008, you created the BeApp TV, the music video streaming platform. Tell me a little bit about creating, you went into it a little bit, but tell me about creating the BeApp TV and how that experience has ultimately led you to develop the BeApp itself.
Yeah, I think creating BeApp TV, I look back and I had delusions of grandeur. I mean, honestly, I look back, I'm like, what? I don't even know what I was thinking. I mean, I was probably 25 years old, and I didn't have any money. And like, I put every single penny I had that I ever earned into trying to start this company where I thought that there was a market demand for it. But again, in 2005, 2006, watching people party or watching a festival online, people just thought I was insane. I mean, I remember I went to all the big music festivals. And so I was living in London at the time, and all the big European festivals. I remember I went to go see James Barton, who had a festival called Creamfields. He ended up selling it to Live Nation. But I remember showing him like my laptop with a live stream of the Swedish House Mafia. It was something that we recorded. And he's just looking at me. He's like, who's ever going to watch this stuff? And it's so funny when you fast forward like 15 years later, it's like everybody. Every single person in the world is kind of stuck looking at their phone, watching video content. But, trying to convince people in the early days that this was the future of entertainment was challenging. And, not only trying to convince people that other people wanted to watch it, but trying to figure out how to make money from it was even harder. I got, a couple of lucky bounces super early. When we first started, I signed a deal like 2 months in with Nokia. Show you how long ago. Nokia was actually a handset manufacturer back then, but they were pretty advanced. Again, iPhones were still super early, so Nokia were the ones pressing the boundaries on video streaming, and we signed a deal with Nokia. And it, my first year it was like $50,000. The second year it was like 1.4 million US dollars for that deal, and that gave me a business. And then I realized, like, oh my God, not only are people going to watch this, but I can earn a living doing that. So I pretty much just went around. Spent most of my time on planes, meeting festival owner, club owners, artists, and trying to convince them to let me broadcast their event. And again, it was a very, very, very early time of web streaming where I don't think anybody realized there was any value in it. So people were actually paying me to do it. The festival owners would pay us to come in and stream their event, whereas you fast forward to 2020, that the entire world has changed with the content owners and what they own and where the value proposition lives.
When you're approaching these artists about this kind of concept, and like you're saying, so early on, before anybody really knew where this this kind of digital age was going to take us, what were some of the obstacles you had to overcome, when trying to talk to these artists about what you do and what this thing is that you have now?
We got lucky with the artists. I mean, I was fortunate enough. I was really, really good friends with the Swedish House Mafia. So the Swedish House Mafia, they weren't famous at all. They got really famous in like 2009, 2010, but in like 2007, they were just three guys who were super cool that everybody wanted to party with. And so I spent, and I knew them socially. So when I was starting the company, I started just streaming their events. And the second DJ we ever streamed was a guy named deadmau5. So again, deadmau5 these are like super underground DJs. And the third artist we ever streamed was Calvin Harris. So when you fast forward to today, the Swedish House Mafia, deadmau5, Calvin Harris, they're, three of the biggest, not just electronic DJs, but, some of the biggest artists in the world. But because they were the cool kids, they were super, super progressive and forward thinking. Because they were the first three things that we streamed, it gave us kind of this, okay, all the cool kids are doing it. We want to do that as well. So when we were speaking to artists, I pretty much just showed, I'm like, look, we've got, three cool people, the very first three people that ever opted in to let us do it. And I showed them what it looked like. And my speech was, you're playing a club in London, or you're playing a club in Berlin or Ibiza. There's only 2,000 people that can physically fit in this club. With what we're doing, I can make 2 million people see it through the use of the internet. And, like all things, people like to be more famous. So my angle was, I'm going to make you even more famous than you are today.
With the BeApp, how specifically does this app work to connect fans and the artists?
Yeah, when COVID's an interesting thing, because the live entertainment space, I think there's always been an opportunity for music fans to go see their favorite artists. But I think a lot of times people forget there's been an opportunity for music fans to see their favorite artists for a limited few. I mean, it's a very exclusive, wealthy privilege to be able to go see your favorite star when they come to town. That's even if you live in a town where the performers come in. I mean, there's a whole big world out there where a lot of these artists just aren't even touring. They're not going to a lot of these cities, a lot of these markets, a lot of these countries. So, trying to figure out a way to connect artists with their fans and fans with their favorite artists, even pre-COVID, was one of the aims of what I've always been trying to do. It's like, it doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter how much money you have, we're going to give you the best artists in the world. You can be in India and you could still get an opportunity to experience your favorite artists. And when COVID first came about and every single person's been forced to stay in their home, even still, places like the UK and France and Italy, when everybody's forced to be at home, doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter where you live, you can live in New York City or LA, you still can't visit your favorite artists because there's just no concerts. And so being able to connect fans with artists and artists with fans and then fans with each other through kind of a socialized platform is what BeApp's all about. In an environment and a time when there's just no other music concert festival alternatives. So how we go about doing that is by really trying to take the live streaming experience and making it social. There's a lot of platforms that are doing live streaming today. It's a much different landscape than back in 2006 when I first started. There's a lot of platforms that are starting right now trying to do live streaming, and I think the challenge that all of us face, myself included, is trying to recreate the experience of going to a music event. I think a lot of the companies out there are going about it wrong. I imagine, and again, I just made every single mistake possible with building a platform that tries to connect artists with fans. And I see a lot of the pitfalls that come with trying to recreate a digital experience that is very, very, very in-person focused. And right now, even if you look at the biggest companies in the streaming space where you have YouTube and Facebook and IG Live and Twitch, they're still only offering a portion of the experience. There's some other companies out there that are doing some very, very interesting things. A lot of the virtual, like pure virtual places like Fortnite, I think is doing an incredible job. The Billie Eilish stream from the white label solution, Maestro, I thought that was very interesting. But I think the vast majority of the startups that are attacking this problem are missing a huge component, and it's how you can create a live stream but also make it interesting and engaging, as opposed to just having an artist perform in a very lean back environment where you're just sitting and watching artists from the comfort of your living room. That's not how you go to concerts. That's not how you go to parties. That's not how you go to festivals. But for some reason, that's the way that people are presenting live streams today.
Now, you recently did, I guess, in the BeApp, recently did a virtual concert with the iconic DJ Jazzy Jeff.
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience and also why and how you decided to partner with DJ Jazzy Jeff on that particular endeavor.
Well, I'm from Philadelphia. I grew up listening to DJ Jazzy Jeff. He's always been a hometown hero. He's great. I mean, we actually stream him twice a week, every single week. So when I first started BeApp, we were putting together our opening slate of programming. And so for our opening weekend, I was trying to figure out who's the best hip hop DJ in the world. And, DJ Jazzy Jeff he's a legend. So we reached out to his team, said, hey, we're doing a live performance. This is like our very second day of the app being launched. So on May 15th, we streamed Jeff. And then he just did such a good job, and he's so versatile that we have a deal in place with him now that we stream him every single Wednesday and every single Saturday, every single week. So, and it's quite funny when you get to meet your heroes, like through this process. I get to talk to Jeff once a week now, and he's very forward-thinking. He's doing live streams twice a week, and him from an artist perspective, who's been in the game for a long time, he gets the challenge that I think a lot of people are having, and he also recognizes how difficult it is for a lot of artists that aren't as famous as him to earn a living during this time. So it's, you know, I can't say enough. He's just a nice person, but he's also, you know, one of the most talented DJs in the world, and he's also just, you know, he's been doing this for so long that he understands how to get a crowd moving in the real world, but also understand how to create a fun environment in the virtual world.
Now, when programming an event, or even like, you know, the next event that might be coming up, how does BeApp determine who the next artist is, or what the next event is going to be? And then with that, how does the word spread? Like, what are your exposure avenues like for that?
Yeah, I think how we choose artists, we're trying to be as broad as possible. One of the things that was challenging at BeApp TV, my last company, was that it was known as an electronic music platform, and that was great because we hit a very target demo, and we did it very well. But I've always kind of was itching to do something just beyond dance music. So, like, you know, at BeApp TV, we signed a big deal with Rolling Loud, which is a big hip hop festival where we started streaming all their events. It also showed me, like, just there's a lot of other genres, especially in hip hop, that people want to get to connect with their favorite artists. So, like, how we program now is really trying to figure out who the big names are, like people like Katy Perry that are going to bring in vast amount of users that are also very talented and credible. But then we also try to search for interesting artists that people may or may not have heard of that can provide a different perspective. I personally have discovered so much new music through BeApp, and watching how artists perform in the live environment. It's been interesting for me. From a deal perspective, we have a big deal in place with Rock Nation, which is Jay-Z's management / label, and so we have an ongoing deal with DJ Khaled. So we have a 12-episode deal with him, where we're streaming him once a week or every other week, but also the other artists on the Rock Nation label. So people like Robin Thicke or Benny the Butcher or Tinashe or Miguel. And so it's trying to take that, but also mix it up with electronics. So people like Steve Aoki and Diplo and LPGOB and a number of other DJs to give a flavor for that. But then we've done a ton of, you know, jam bands and acoustic artists that provide a different flavor. So from a programming perspective, it's kind of part wish fulfillment. Who, like when we're in the office, who is everybody listening to? Part of it is dealing with our sponsors. So with Coca-Cola sponsoring a number of our launch events, trying to figure out what artists fit with the Coke brand. And then a lot of times it's just we'll get inbound. So artists will call us and say, hey, they've got a project that they want to do, and they would like for us to be the production / streaming partner.
Okay, nice. So given everything that's going on now with the BeApp, what does the future look like in terms of expansion? Are there any thoughts of doing more BeApp events with, and kind of like what you just said with, you know, doing with Rock Nation? So obviously that kind of answers that question. But as far as like with the hip hop artists and things like that, you know, what's in store and coming up with BeApp for those things?
Yeah, you know, hip hop it's personally close to me. It's, you know, I listen to a fair amount of it. It's trying to get the right kind of artists that feel comfortable live streaming. So, you know, we've done like Lil Yachty, who did an amazing live stream. I mean, he put a lot of effort into it. He had a house in Miami and he, film crew, and like he dove headfirst into the pool, like in all his clothes while he was doing a live stream. And it's really trying to identify those artists that perform well. In hip hop, it's quite interesting because you have artists that can freestyle, which is also extremely compelling and interesting to watch. But it's trying to get artists that know how to work the camera and work the stage. And so much of the younger, new, I don't even know how you would classify it, but the younger hip hop guys really know how to move around. When we stream Rolling Loud, one of the things that I saw, we did 4 or 5 Rolling Loud festivals, and going to those concerts, I was just like the energy. It almost feels like it's a bit like punk rock now. We streamed Travis Scott, and the way it's nuts. I mean, they've got mosh pits. The kids are like, it is a wild experience, and translating that to a virtual performance in a lot of ways, especially during COVID, in a lot of ways, it's very challenging because like, how do you capture that energy and all that stuff that happens on a hip hop stage when somebody's performing, and then try to bring that down onto somebody's computer or bring that down into someone's mobile phone. And so from my perspective, it's always, I love doing these kinds of shows, especially in hip hop space, because you're like, okay, how do I keep this interesting for the fans at home so that they don't tune out? You know, there's so many different competing content options available. People are glued to their TVs watching, you know, the election results. You have Netflix, you have Hulu, you have Amazon. So how do we take a live concert and a remote concert, especially in hip hop, where and you don't have the pyrotechnics, I don't have fireworks, I don't have backup dancers. How do you make that feel as though something that someone that's halfway around the world wants to watch?
Yeah, that I could see where that would be a little daunting to try to have to figure all that out. So just kind of wanted to close this up, but I understand there's an upcoming feature that's going to be added soon. Can you elaborate or divulge what's coming up with that for BeApp?
Yeah. So in December, we're rolling out, I call it BeApp 2.0. But I do think it's going to revolutionize how people consume this type of content. You know, without giving too much away, it's really about how do you make live streaming much more social. And really making it a place where fans can connect with each other, much like they do when they go to a concert. There's so many reasons why you go to attend an event. Some of it's to go see the artist, but a lot of it is just escapism. You want to go and forget the fact that there's a global pandemic or a country that's divided or that you're late on your bills because you don't have any money, and you want to go and forget about your problems with your friends, and trying to bring that kind of feeling so that people can come into the BeApp and really socialize with their friends as well as consume entertaining content is a big push for us, and trying to create different kind of functionality that makes it just much, much more social, so that you know that if we're all locked in the house in the next 4 months, I know I can open up BeApp and it's a place where I can hang out with my existing friends, but also a place where I can discover and meet new friends.
Cool, man. That sounds interesting. I'm looking forward to getting in to seeing more about BeApp and what all of the things that you guys are bringing to the table. I think it's fascinating, and I can't wait to see more. Really appreciate you jumping on and taking the time out to talk with me and share some of these amazing stories with me. It's been great.
Chad, I appreciate you. Thank you.
And that concludes this episode of the Conversations with Chad podcast. Be sure to check us out at chadkiser.com. We'll be back soon. Thanks for listening.